everybody, and welcome to the Cosmic Weather Report with a wonderful astrologer, Sioux Rose. We are doing what I think she's going to do is a weekly current look at cryptocurrencies and what kind of exciting coins are coming into the market and what they're doing and that sort of a thing. And so today we actually thought it would be interesting to read on the love story between Elon Musk and Dogecoin, with predictions on Dogecoin, as well as two other coins, the new Mononoke-Inu and another continuing read on Saitama, who is launching their new Saitamask today, January 8th at 2 p.m. Pacific. So that's very exciting, and I know a lot of people are excited about it. So no one here is a financial advisor. One is an astrologer, the other is a physician. And so none of this is financial advice. It's just a very interesting topic that we're exploring.
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. We're coming into Aquarius. That's one of my favorite signs on the zodiac dial because it's the key kingdom of innovation, inventiveness, really truly thinking out of the box. So what better individual to talk about and analyze on a cosmic level than Elon Musk? I mean, this is a true visionary. So I had never seen his chart before, and we're lucky that there is a noted time of birth, which lends a lot more accuracy, because once you have a time of birth, you can set up the circle. And the circle, composed of 12 houses, shows the astrologer where the activity is going to be relevant to the planet that's involved. Seeing that, I put Elon Musk's chart in front of me because, again, tremendous resonance here between a truly inventive mind and the time period we are as a humanity coming into. So one of the things that hit me first is that his rising sign shows up at 29 degrees of Gemini. And the last degree is almost a transition point into the next sign. So it's almost like, okay, the party's over in Gemini. We're closing the doors. Cancer, next one up. So he also has the Venus, which is really about love and money, and everything that we see beauty in or have an aspiration towards is in the 12th house of karma. So when I first saw that, I first said, okay, secret love life. But then when I looked deeper into the chart, this is what really struck me. So what I was getting is that he was really made privy to really high secrets about how energies work. And in this lifetime, he's got his Mars, which is where his ego and libido are going to represent, in the sign of Aquarius, that most inventive sign on the dial. It's in the 8th house, and that's the house of Scorpio, which deals with sexuality, secrecy. So that kind of was reinforcing my idea of something to do with, the sexual plane in order to get close to the people in power, and that included scientists. So the third factor, because just as Jesus taught that you need two or more gather together, essentially, to make something happen, I like to see at least 2 or 3 similar indications in any chart dial before I really make an actual prediction or statement. So in this case, here comes the third factor. The 5th house is the house of romantic love. It's exotic, it's erotic, like the 8th house, which is Scorpio. So sure enough, Elon has his Neptune, which represents the collective consciousness and his own capacity to tap his imagination, subconscious, etc., very close to Jupiter, which is the planet of foreign things and travel and all things that expand us. So this Jupiter-Neptune is saying that there's a tremendous expansion of knowledge coming from the dream plane. I should have reminded that Neptune does, in fact, rule dreams, the dream plane. So what I'm getting is with Venus, which is about all the beautiful things in the 12th house, which is the house that associates to Pisces, the 12th sign, he is a channel. Elon Musk is a channel. So then I said, okay, where's the Saturn? And the Saturn is the planet of karma in anybody's chart, and the Saturn is found in the sign of Gemini. So then I got, okay, his karma is that of being a messenger. He is able to tap into very, very high levels of knowledge that come from his own contact in earlier incarnations. But then here comes the karmic lesson to Mr. Musk. Is all of this knowledge used on behalf of humanity, the greater good, or merely for self-riches? So, the thing that just struck me is that Mr. Musk is a channel and has been in contact with very high information, maybe not from even necessarily this planet, because there were times in the past, in the ancient past, when, other levels of consciousness, other beings, we call them UFOs, inhabited this planet. And certainly commingled with some of the locals. The Bible talks about that one.
Do you see anything in his chart that would lean him in any particular direction?
If we just look at affinities, I'd have to, well, he's got his Neptune in Sagittarius. The stock is born in Sagittarius. I like this. This is one of the, here's a resonance. The stock has its moon in Aquarius.
Dogecoin, you mean?
Thank you. Has its moon in Aquarius. Again, this is the sign of ultimate visionary beliefs and activities and just beyond what anybody knows. It goes beyond the known. That's a good way to put it. So it has the Sun Sagittarius, the Mercury Sagittarius. These are visionary. This is probably another resonance for him particularly. Jupiter is the money planet. And we say that planets not only govern certain signs, there are certain signs that really bring forth the best the planet can offer. We call it the exaltation. So Jupiter has its exaltation in Cancer, and that's Elon Musk's sun sign. He knows he gets rich from this.
From Dogecoin.
Well, he's going to make a profit, I think, because he's very intuitive on that level. I mean, look at his life. But I think the sun in Cancer feels the Jupiter, which is the sign, this particular coin's potential for expansion. Jupiter's the money planet. And it's good that it's exalted in Cancer. I think I said this earlier on. The nicest or the best indication a human being or an entity lives by ethics is when Jupiter, which is the New Testament planet, and Saturn, the Old Testament planet, which are the foundation of Western law, morality, religion, blend together. This chart for Dogecoin has a perfect harmonic, which is the best possible angle between Jupiter, which does look like it's meant to prosper in the sign of Cancer, its exaltation, trine the Saturn in Scorpio. Now, the strange thing is Saturn can sometimes mean where you're going to really, do your most solid investment. Scorpio has to do with anything that breaks down, rebuilds, endings that lead to new beginnings. It also, funny enough, has to do with things like waste industry. Things that involve waste. If the ultimate waste is to transform it back into something useful, that's the number 8, that's Scorpio, that's the way things are meant to be. Whatever this is, if it ever got invested in something like recycling or really, I would say, transmuting matter into something else,
What if it was involved in renewable energy?
That's what I mean, yeah, okay. Especially if it comes from these unexpected resources.
Well, you have the guy who made the electric cars working on the electric airplane who's working in space. So you were talking about the Jupiter Saturn trine for
that.
Dogecoin?
I think of this as the ultimate indication of good ethics, also good legal maneuvers, good legal contracts. This is solid on an ethical level.
Interesting.
I mean, seriously, and you don't get that too often.
Okay, so looking at Dogecoin, we're using the most common chart that is circulating the internet, and that is even though Jackson Palmer was the original creator of Dogecoin, and he was in Sydney, Australia at the time.
We're debating where the starting point should be geographically.
The charts state 9 a.m. Portland, Oregon time, which was his co-creator. Billy Marcus is from Portland, Oregon, so he was also a part of the Dogecoin launch. And so
all right, so this is the one that I don't know if we talked about. This one has the trine between the ethical planets.
Okay, yeah. So what's the first thing that jumps out at you about Dogecoin?
It's got a lot of fire. It's got a lot of Sagittarius. It's got some Aries, and fire takes chances. Fire is a pioneer. It's got the moon in Aquarius. That is the most visionary sign. So the moon represents the sentiments, the emotions of what draws people in, and also the mood of the public in terms of whatever purchases may be related. Aquarius is the iconoclast. It's the sign that says, if it hasn't been done, I will be the one to do it. I want to try it. I want to expand boundaries. That's why it's so inventive. And the Jupiter in Cancer is almost a built-in luck with money. That's the exaltation of Jupiter. It trines the Saturn, which is good karma and good ethics. Now, the water planets will get the benefit of Jupiter, not the fire planets. See, that's the conundrum, because fire is operating on a very different wavelength. It's not in harmony with water and earth. So the sign itself with the sun Sagittarius, it's picking up a good angle from Saturn, which is very good for planning and, seeing the long-term picture. And that's the second half of January 2022. The water part of the chart, which in this case would be the Jupiter in Cancer and the Saturn in Scorpio, and wasn't there something else in water? The North Node, which is very important, in Scorpio. They're getting the benefit of the Jupiter in Pisces. You're going to see very good financial energy when the Jupiter in Pisces makes this beautiful grand trine, and this is going to be in basically the month of March, the second half of March of 2022. All right, so we're going to have Jupiter. That's a really good growth period. And because Jupiter's also going to be favoring Saturn, Saturn is kind of like the button-down bureaucratic types, and Jupiter is more the adventurous types. It creates a blend. It's like a blend between the thinking of the, the old school versus people that are more avant-garde and willing to take some risks. The chart has the Uranus in Aries, which is also saying that the planet of invention is in the sign of the pioneer. Jupiter, here's a real lucky one. Jupiter goes over the Uranus. That's once in 12 years. That could be the launch of something really unique because Aries likes to be the pioneer. I'm the first one to try this and touch down. Basically, the whole months of July and August show this tendency because the chart
2022?
Yeah, the chart has the Uranus at between 8 and 9 degrees of Aries. Jupiter will be at 8 degrees the second week of July of 2022, and it sits on that degree, goes retrograde in early August, gets back to the beginning of the 8th degree by the middle of August. So your most fertile period is about July 10 to about August 20. And that's not it, folks. It's going to return there. When a planet goes retrograde, it eventually has to say, I guess I'll come forward. I guess I got to go down that street after all. So it comes back around for a second whammy, in this case a good one. And this is also showing up in, it's building in January 2023, peaking in April 2023. I see that as quite fortunate.
Yeah, so here's the thing about Dogecoin. Dogecoin was started to compete with Bitcoin, and which means currency. So it hasn't ever been, let's say, a blockchain that has been looked at to have development on it, a gaming blockchain or a financial and decentralized finance blockchain or a utility blockchain. So it was always meant to be a peer-to-peer system of currency and usually of tipping. And the way it's been adopted by Elon Musk and Mark Cuban is through currency. You can buy our tickets using Doge. You can buy my Tesla using Doge. And you can invest in this using Doge.
They really are hedging their bets and
they really
getting a
are.
monopoly on different types of currency. Wow.
But it makes me want, you could basically make a currency out of any cryptocurrency, but he chose Doge. And so
earlier we were talking about certain resonances between this particular chart and him. And I know that as a person who's a visionary, he loves that the chart has the moon in Aquarius. It's always going to go where nobody else went. This moon Aquarius, which is this idea of the inventor, is in the second house, which is where you put your foundation. It is altruistic, too. Aquarius can really build the next humanity. It can really build the next age. So having the moon, which is the emotional tie, the sense of, are you family in Aquarius, it's going to attract, a high-level potential type of individual. Very much the futurist.
Interesting. Okay.
And then Uranus, which rules Aquarius, is in the 4th house. That's almost a mutual reception because the Uranus is in the moon's house and the moon is in Uranus's sign. And they're both about, it really is almost about interplanetary colonization because there's something otherworldly about this and not being limited to the Earth plane.
So that just kind of tells me that Elon Musk is never going to let go of Dogecoin. He is going to use it.
Well, I'll tell you,
things.
any astrologer would say cancers seldom let go of anything.
That's
why
true.
they have the claw claws, So, if he's got it, he probably will hold on to it.
No, I mean, not even just
and I can
holding
see where
on
it
to
resonates with him.
But not even just holding on to it as an investment for himself. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But holding on to it and utilizing it in what he does in the world.
That's his karma. Because I'm telling you, I was just getting earlier today when I was looking at and prepping the charts that this individual is really privy to some really high level stuff that he or she was open to, exposed to in another incarnation, and is coming to them. It's coming through them. They're the channeler, and it's meant to be stuff that favors the planet and humanity. And if it's only for self-enrichment, it will really work against the soul.
I love that you can read that in his chart.
I swear I can in this case.
I think that you can read it.
Screaming at me.
Yeah, well, I love that you can pull that out of a chart. I think it's one of your fortes, that you can pull out karma, you can pull out You can pull out past life incarnation just from what you're bringing back into the chart now.
I
like
think
you
that's
can
where
see
the
that.
learning is. I think it's like a teacher who doesn't tell a child they're making spelling mistakes, they're never going to be a better writer. So when I see a chart, I look at the critical heavy stuff, and I think a lot of the more popular astrologers don't. They just say it's all good, it's all good. Well, is it? I mean, some of life's hard. So with this one, the first thing that hit me is the sun and the moon are in a perfect harmonic, the trine.
We're talking about Mononoke-Inu.
I love the name too. It's got a lot of yin in that name.
Wait, say that one more time. What hits you about it?
Okay, the sun and the moon in any chart, and we're doing a chart of an entity, just like the U.S. Supreme Court says corporations are persons, so they get charts too. The sun and the moon are in a perfect harmonic. They're in a trine, that magic word trine. There's nothing better than the trine. It's like the music of spheres is playing through the instrument.
So what does it mean when their moon and sun is in it?
I think who's ever doing the planning, there's going to be a great balance of people sort of making decisions. It's not going to be like, yang, male dominant. There's a balance here between yin and yang, and that sometimes can play out, it doesn't necessarily conflate with gender specifically, but it definitely means the yin yang energies. It's very creative. When the mother and the father get along, the kids are happier.
I see. Okay.
So
and that means it could be a cooperative development team
I
cooperating
think
with their
really
community.
a lot of that, and I think there's going to be a lot of respect for the ideas of different people. Venus rises very high. There's going to be, the top of the chart, the midheaven, does relate to government officials, authority figures, and also people that have a lot of power, and in our world that usually is corporate money. So with the Venus there could be the attraction or the attracting of that element. Okay? The Mercury, which is salesmanship, mercantilism comes from Mercury. It's the planet of marketing, is in the 7th house, which is really good at marketing, speaking to who it is that you're drawing in. I see, because there's some Libra energy here, a lot of balance going on also. The Mercury in Libra really looks for fair shakes. You get this, I get that. Win-win situations.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Right.
The sun is with Mars, and the sun with Mars is like high energy involved, but it is in the 8th house, which is the house of Scorpio, and that means a lot of stuff is not showing above board. But anything that is committed to transformation, transmutation, healing, again, these ideas of waste industry and turning things around, but that could be anything. It's kind of seductive, actually. There's seductive. The people involved are going to be very seductive in advertising, and yet it's based on very good ethics. There's very, very good ethics. I also like the Mercury, which is in Libra, in a very good aspect, perfect trine again to the Jupiter. Wow. Well, Mercury is salesmanship and who signs on the dotted line, because it rules paperwork and to an extent contracts. The trine to Jupiter is, again, Jupiter's the top of the fire element. It rules Sagittarius, which is global interest, global support. This really has the energy here of really showing a good example to others. Very high, I wrote, these are my notes, very good at diplomatic relations, global justice, harmony. So, let's see. The rising sign is Pisces. That means it's ruled by Neptune, which rises. This is a really interesting combination. Normally, Pisces, the last sign on the zodiac dial, is the depth of water. Think of the depth of the ocean. We don't know what's going on way, way down there. But in this case, we have Neptune rising, and Neptune rules the 12th house. Neptune rules Pisces. It's standing right on the ascendant, which is like waving from the window saying, look, this is what I got. So this is a lot of disclosure for something that has a lot of Neptunian energy. Could have a lot to do with, Neptune has to do with things like liquids, chemicals, seafaring, shipping, the film industry, shoes, because it's Pisces, the foot, and unfortunately bars and alcohol. But I like this Neptune rising because I feel like it's saying, this is who I am. It shows itself. That's really amazing. The moon is in Cancer, and again, this harmonic, this balance between the sun and the moon means there's not going to be impulsive decisions made. First of all, the sun and the moon are in water signs. Water is very intuitive. When I actually saw this, I thought to myself, there's so much harmony operating. This was the deep insight, that I think they had a feng shui master or somebody who knows a lot about, maybe martial arts and universal force fields, whatever it is, they set up the date.
Do you want to know what this project is about?
Sure.
So Mononoke-Inu is a group of developers who were in love with this fantastical realm of Japanese samurai culture from their childhood. Apparently, this is characters of stories that they watched or were read to as children and loved. And so what they've done is they're creating an entire gaming entertainment, probably moving into metaverse, although right now they're just 2D gaming, where a person can come in and they can earn as they play. So there's your win-win. And so they've incorporated decentralized finance into their games. And they have the product that they're working on now that I believe one of their products is a 2D game that can be played on the computer. And that is their thing. That on their website, they very specifically talk about bringing the balance and fairness back into decentralized finance and incorporating it into a fun style that adheres to that fantastical realm of Japanese warrior culture.
What's so interesting about this is that Mars is the warrior in astrology, right? I mean, everybody knows that Mars rules Aries, the warrior. And in this particular chart, the Scorpio sun is conjunct with Mars. Now, that's out of sign conjunction because Mars, funny enough, is in Libra, which is the sign of balance and fairness and using martial arts in a protective way. But the sun near Mars means new pioneering initiatives. And what does Mars relate to? Warrior methods. And I think the fact that it's in the Scorpio 8th house, all the water signs really deal with memory. It's kind of like where all human activity is recorded into the ethers. This is known as the Akasha. And water signs oftentimes can tap that intuitively. So what I'm getting at was the Sun, Mars in the 8th house is that bringing back this warrior culture, they may do this for other things, like maybe it'll be...
But it sounds like not just warrior culture in the Mars sense.
It's in the beauty and the arts. Yeah, martial arts are amazing.
And it is in the discipline and the respect.
Oh, I totally...
The way of the samurai.
Right, the sacred warrior. Because the 8th house is Scorpio, which is about, transmutation and bringing energies higher. But the sun and Mars is, it's definitely got to do with the sacredness of it, ritualistic of it.
I just love that you can pick that up in the chart, man.
Well, I like that. What blew my mind is when you said this is kind of like, isn't it like a virtual reality, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that, to me, I always ask myself why so many Pisces people are good at the internet and really, go deep into how computers work, because to me, computers are electric. They're under the auspices of Uranus, the god of air. So the answer is that all these technologies really are like a sea. They're like an ocean. It's, what Carl Jung called the collective consciousness. It's like an ocean. So Pisces, the fish can swim in this and they understand how it works. Anyway, the ruler of that is Neptune. And this Neptune rising is making the dream plane conscious. That's what this is all about.
Oh, that's very
mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and they are gaming. They are a gaming company. That's what they're doing.
Well, this is really just a chart based on a lot of harmony, but nobody would probably ever admit this, but whoever knows that I bet you that the people who were putting it together really did go to some consulting, with timing, whether it was, Feng Shui or some Oriental, use. It could have been an oracle. They could have tossed the I Ching.
You mean to when to launch it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to ask you.
This looks like not negatively premeditated, brilliantly done. And if they weren't, then man, they were really in sync with the Tao, T-A-O, the Tao.
Yeah.
Not the Dow Industrial.
That brings me to the rally date of their all-time high was actually their launch day.
Good karma.
Which I
Good
find
karma.
either they knew the
auspicious omen, I tell you.
Yes.
So definitely.
So that probably wasn't an accident, as you say.
Hell no.
They probably knew what they were doing.
Whoever launched this, let's put it this way: whoever launched this on a spiritual plane is of the cognoscente, the ones that know.
So, do you feel like this is an asset you could probably trust, given their what they've done thus far, and what you see in the chart? As far as the choices they make, the decisions.
If a chart is going to have harmonious components built in, this one's got it. If this was a person, everybody would like them.
Everybody would like them. Okay, so can we look at some possible dates of prediction for...
So what I do is I say, what are the planets in a reading, or in this case, the chart of a coin, that represent financial growth? And there's a couple of potential cycles that could support that. So what I do is I compare the chart and say, what's going on? Well, first of all, right now is a very auspicious period for this. I'm on Mononoke, because Jupiter's making a grand trine. That must be the magic word today, trine.
Yeah.
Look it up, Sesame Street kids. So the reason is that the sun is about 3 degrees of Scorpio, water sign, in that perfect trine harmonic to the moon at about 4 degrees of Cancer. What's missing? Hello, Pisces. And Jupiter is about to go to 4 degrees Pisces to complete the perfect triangle with this.
When does that happen?
Very soon. I'm looking it up. It's right around now. So maybe people hearing this podcast.
Well,
okay, the strongest is going to be from January 11 to January 24. And let's see if there's anything else that can narrow it down. It's just auspicious, you know? And people should go with their gut. That's a very lucky time for this coin.
January 11 through January 24 of
Yes.
2022.
Okay, then another good thing is we say Saturn, which is about concretizing things, making it, accessible to the masses, because Saturn is all about the market ultimately. It rules the stock market, so does Jupiter. Okay, so the Mercury's at 14 Libra. I want to see, this is a nice concordance. I was about to say Saturn, which is things that are, they get stronger. They build on their foundation, favoring to the Mercury, which is the mercantilism planet. Saturn's orbit is 29 years. It's about to trine. There we go again. Trine the Mercury, which is somebody's going to make. This is let's make a deal. It's a good deal. And guess when it is? Almost overlapping the one I just said, because Saturn will be at 13 degrees of Aquarius on January 11, and it moves through that 14-degree point. I should have said that the Mercury in the chart is between 14 and 15 Libra by early February. So the same periods overlap. We got Saturn favoring Mercury, very good for mercantilistic, down-to-earth decision-making, long-term, working with the natural growth of Jupiter favoring both the sun and the moon. That's good karma.
Is it possible there's a partnership in the wings for something like that? Because could that mean partnering with something?
Well, let me look at the Venus, because Venus rules Libra, which is the sign of partnership. We find the Venus is at 19-20 degrees Sag, a little bit later, but yes. Why do I say a little bit later? There's two things operating on that Venus. One of them is going to be a square from Jupiter and Pisces, and squares always mean people let things get a little bit out of hand. A square between Venus and Jupiter, these are both the planets of ultimate optimism and spending too much money. And when they square each other, you sort of have to trim it a little bit because, it's overreach, okay? That means overreach. So let me go with when Jupiter squares the Venus for overreach, which would be the second half of March. Basically, let's go with March 16 to March 30 of 2022. But that's almost exactly when Saturn is going to be favoring the Venus. See, so it's a crisscross. We got a negative energy and a positive energy that are simultaneous. And what better time than when Jupiter, which is the planet of ethics, is in Pisces, the sign of two fish. Which way do you go? Which way do you go?
Well, so if you're looking at business, what could this mean in a business?
The Saturn to Venus is more stabilizing. The Saturn to Venus, and it can mean, like you said, because Venus is about partnership. Here's Saturn, which is long-term goals, and big business is coupling amicably with the Venus. The chance of, I don't know if I want to say partnership, but solid investment I see on that. And that's also, this one comes in more at the end of February into the first part of March. The correction comes, in my view, a kind of overreach correction, like pulling the sails a little, trim the sails a little. That's more like the second half of March of 2022. Remember that I can only factor this one thing at a time. People have to listen for any overlaps.
But you're saying overreach, which would be pulling the sails in, which would translate as probably the correction in the market for them.
Probably not really negative for two reasons. It's Jupiter, which Jupiter's kind of like the kid that puts a dent in the car. Saturn and Pluto crash it. So the idea is Jupiter is such a benefic planet that even a square from Jupiter, the lesson's usually not terrible. Whereas Saturn is more about austerity correction. We're not talking that. I think this is almost like a kid that has to have a little discipline.
Okay, but that's an opportunity for people to know that exists at that time. It also corresponds to other market predictions overall.
Another thing is we want to look at when Saturn squares Uranus, the chart's Uranus. That's its most inventive, we can't predict. It's like the planet of the serendipitous opportunity as well as expression. And when Saturn, which is the old guard, bureaucrats, paperwork, you have to follow this rule and sign on this line. Basically, it's over. That was the first. That's like until January. Well, I have to say till January 20th. So Saturn is bearing down, squaring the Uranus. That means that there are certain powers, probably outside of the organization itself, loosely as it may be formed, that are thwarting a new initiative or something very inventive. That there may be this is it, a launch delayed.
Okay, so all right, so that's interesting. But so can I say to you that it has basically plummeted in its value this past month?
That's because Saturn is blocking it.
So that corresponds to what you're saying.
But then there's such a luck and opportunity period that I just gave you when Jupiter
that's
makes
coming up.
That.
That's right.
Sign me in.
So basically, what you have is you have a coin that has 10 zeros in front of it.
There's a lot of room to grow.
It's very cheap.
Pat him on the head and let him grow.
Yeah. So if anybody was delaying on even investing in this thing,
what do you got to lose?
You might want to jump in before this January 11.
But I did want to also say that here's a date that I have mixed feelings about. However, this one really will work well for doing virtual reality. Oh, then this is very cool. Oh boy, this is a big one. See, normally I get shaky when planets are in Pisces or Neptune is involved because, remember, one of those fish is about deception, really devious behavior. Nobody sees it coming, that level of artistic deviousness. But the other fish is super high. It's imagination, virtual reality, melding with the miraculous. I was starting to talk about this with Elon Musk, that when you are at a level where you're really merging with this whole collective, which is what Neptune opens up the floodgates to, it rules the collective of all human experience. We call this the Akashic record. The subconscious mind can access it if a person is balanced. Otherwise, people go off the deep end. A lot of people who have, reported mental illness, schizophrenia, they do hear voices, they do see things, because they're not balanced enough to conduct that level, is what it amounts to. Or
their own personal bias bends the light on that one, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Can I ask you a question about the future of this one?
Yeah, let me go back. Sure. I was going to give you a date though on this Jupiter-Neptune
thing.
Don't
let me get in that.
So I was saying though that normally I get shaky on anything with Pisces, but I really think because this is virtual reality, it's a major plus. And this is once in 12 years, Jupiter with a 12-year orbit crossing Pisces, in this case, crossing over the Neptune, which in the chart of Mononoke is rising. And I said that this is really what makes the virtual reality more conscious. I think there's going to be something launched or something recognized. This is global recognition. This is some kick-ass publicity. Free publicity. Maybe something goes viral.
Maybe.
Looks like right around the vernal equinox. So I'm going to say anywhere, because I always give an aspect, at least when I'm not on the air, I give it 3 degrees with my clients. In these podcasts, I'm going closer to 1-2 degrees to tighten the gap, So basically, we're talking about anywhere from March 19 till, I would say, April 3. So there's a gigantic window of opportunity there. Okay. So this Jupiter rising is so cool. There's just so many good things about this one. Oh, I was going to give you one more good date, too. So I was saying that because Jupiter and Saturn, they get together once every 20 years. Jupiter, the faith planet, the expansion planet of luck and opportunity, has a 12-year orbit. And Saturn, the planet that gives us our kick-ass lessons in life, setbacks, etc., has about a 28-year orbit. The midpoint is 20. So the last time they met was, in fact, around the winter solstice, December 2022 of 2020. And then they both came into Aquarius together. And Aquarius is the most bold, original, inventive sign. We have not had what we call the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Aquarius for a very long time. In fact, it seldom has happened in an air element. Most of them took place in Earth, so most of the developments were on Earth. Earthy inventions, earthly assets. Now we're coming into air. And air is more like where you take imagination and make it manifest. So Saturn is not too far away from Jupiter. They're both still, actually Jupiter went into Pisces right around New Year's, but they're not that far apart. So what I'm saying is where Jupiter thrills this sun-moon trine, coming up really soon this month, Saturn is also going to form that same trine. And you only get the trine of Saturn twice in its 28-year journey. So it's a really good influence. And where Jupiter brings luck, opportunity, a lot of expansion, Saturn makes things more, if it's a good aspect, concretized.
Which it is,
Sets the foundation, firm, solid support. And this is April, May of 2023.
Okay.
So this chart has a lot to look forward to.
Hey, did you happen to do an I Ching for Mononoke?
Yes.
Oh, yay. So Mononoke's I Ching that you found.
It's actually called 41, which means decrease. Now, what that could mean, what could be positive out of that, is that maybe every time it gets to a certain level, it will invest or disperse or do something, so it's always in a process of not allowing increase to overwhelm decrease.
Balance.
Yeah, okay, that goes back to sun, moon.
And the things that they're trying to do as well.
So, but here's the thing, you could also do it for every year of life. Oh, that's kind of cute. So it only launched last year, so that means this year it's increase. Well, that's the balance.
So what's 2023?
43, the I Ching number 43 is actually about the nature of evil.
Maybe that's what their themes are within their games.
That would be amazing.
Challenging evil.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, because I've not played
Well,
their
that makes
games.
a lot of sense thematically for 2 years from now. Well, 1 year from now, right? Because this is 42. Next year, yeah.
Yeah, you're saying in 2023 potential.
So let me put
partnershiping.
this out there. 43, the lesson. Beautiful. The Chinese masters who came up with the I Ching over 2,000 years ago had a better application for what to do with evil in a society than anybody in Western culture. They said you turn away from it. You don't try to fight the evil directly, because if you try to fight evil directly, it will take up its own means and it'll be a never-ending spiral. Instead, like when Jesus said, turn the other cheek, cast thy net to the other side, you take your attention and divert it into all things good, all things that improve. So, 43 could be an ideological decision in this company, or whoever makes decisions with this coin, as to whether to get away from anything that would be a kind of a fight you can't win, divert energy, resources, creativity towards completely something else, and something that's good, that's an investment in the best in people.
This is a fascinating coin.
Oh, thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
So did we want to talk about Saitama?
Yeah. So Saitama is very exciting. And that's because we began reading Saitama when it first launched. And you saw a lot of things about it. I'm just going to review really quickly. Your key influences were global support, secret partnerships, good legal outlooks, showbiz, star quality, using celebrities to push their momentum, commerce, teaching, education, doing things in secret. You said the neutrality was the I Ching of 38, lending itself to great flexibility and moving with the trends, wisdom, and seeing the broadest possible picture. So there were a couple dates that you had said in the previous one, and I recommend people do listen to that one because there was a lot of excellent information. And I'm going to do some key dates here that you had said in September of 2021.
I just have to jump in for a second.
Yeah.
We're really having synchronicity at this moment because, I just finished explaining how the mono coin, say the word
Mononoke.
Yeah, had this beautiful trine between sun and the moon, and the only missing link was the Pisces part.
Yeah.
And this chart happens to have the Pisces part. They'd be great friends. I wonder if the same people are ever going to combine, because there's, immediately go to this harmonic that connects the both sets.
Well, I think we'll just mark this that you've said that,
Okay.
but I will say that on their website, they're not Mononoke is not going to focus on partnering with other coins right now. They're going to focus on their development. However,
Then these two are going to work like dance partners, like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, dancing up the financial ups and downs.
well, I'll say that you said there's something very important about it's September of 2021 for Saitama, and that was September 3rd through 6th defines as a precursor to what happens in March of 2023 of Saitama. So whatever strategy happens at that time will be like a crack that metastasizes and becomes a major thing in March of 2023. You called it a separation, a bifurcation. And on September 2nd, they announced that they would be having an entertainment sector of their business, basically a metaverse platform, which is virtual reality.
It's interesting because in any astrology chart, including for this entity, the second house has to do with income you draw in, and the eighth house has to do with income and money that's shared with others. So they're the most mundane monetary houses. In this particular Saitama coin chart, 4 of the 10 influences fall across that axis, and they fall from late Leo into early Virgo, opposite to the early part of Pisces. So there's a lot of growth and tension on it right now because Jupiter is sitting on these points right now. That's once in 12 years. And the distance between Jupiter at 0 Pisces and the moon at 4 Pisces, again, is right now. And I'll give you the duration. It's pretty fast. It should, whatever is going to transpire should be done by January 23rd. Just as I said in the other reading we just did, where the grand trine in water favors water, and Jupiter and Saturn just got together in Aquarius, they're separating. So Jupiter first throws the trine at the, goes over the moon and the Jupiter right now in this chart, trine to the other one. We're also going to have Saturn hit these points. Now, Saturn is the planet that really says, you've got to make a decision. You've got to make a determination. My favorite metaphor or symbol for Saturn is Chronos holding the hourglass. When the time is up, the sand is out of the hourglass. So there's a timing, there's something really important around timing. Saturn usually does have to do with trimming the fat, like the butcher takes the fat off a decent piece of meat. So there's definitely something here where there's going to be disciplinary decision that cuts the fat.
This is in April of 2023?
Yes, my dear. Yes, April. Totally, April. And
of
I would go the whole month
2023.
because you could even, something. Here's the thing. I got to go back. Astrologers usually say when any influence is within 3 degrees, it's starting to bear down. And then the more exact it is, the more likely the application of what that influence represents. So Saturn is hard. Saturn is the hard stuff. It's the really it's the reality check planet, not to mention boot camp. So there is the Jupiter, which is the money flow itself in the 8th house of shared assets. It's at 0 Pisces. Saturn steps on that first. And that will be the exact date of it starting is March 7, 8, 9, 10. I would go 7 to 12, okay?
What year are we in?
2023.
Okay.
And somebody puts the brakes on something with monetary flow. Or else there's a major investment that just zaps everything.
What do you mean zaps everything, though?
Ties it up, freezes it. Saturn is winter.
So is a major investment stopping it from...
There's an absence of flow at that time.
Absence of flow, okay.
So the thing is there's a distance of 4 degrees, which can be a couple of weeks with an outer planet. But the Jupiter is 0 Pisces, the moon is 4. So until we have Saturn get off that 4th degree, which will be the end of April, the tension is on, because these two planets virtually act as cosmic Siamese twins. You can't really separate the function of Jupiter, which is prosperity and faith and the whole flow of money, especially in the currency sign of Pisces, which is the sign of the ocean itself. And then the moon is there.
And when you said April, you meant April 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about a 6-week energy in there. It's going to be something important there that's not going to be totally easy. So then the second thing is that, this moon, Jupiter, and Pisces oppose the chart's Venus, the other planet that represents money. Venus, it rules Taurus. It happens to be in the 2nd house, which has an affinity to Taurus, the 2nd sign. So Saturn is also going to oppose the Venus. The Venus is at 5, just past 5 degrees, which extends what I just said another 2 weeks. Because the first influence is 0, the second is 4, and this one's 5. And they're all caught up in a very important tango in the chart of the coin's inception, meaning they're never going to be unlocked. They're going to always be perpetually locked into this pattern. When it gets triggered is where the astrologer can give prediction. So this is more around the end of April. Now,
2023.
Jupiter and Venus are the money planets, specifically the money planets in any astrological analysis, and they're both being tied up by Saturn. I don't know if the money's redirected to something that but it's not going to be an easy time. I don't think it's a great time for people that want to invest, or it's going to be probably lower as a result. So that's
you were talking about a bifurcation that occurs in March of 2023.
Well, that may be why the money is frozen, because it's going to be, I hope it won't be a legal issue, but somebody's going to feel the absence of in the
Well, is it
partnership.
possible the business is going to be split?
Yes,
and so,
totally.
So finances need to be split amongst shared resources.
That makes totally. Yes.
So because you're saying whatever's announced in September is what causes this separation. So you have one announcement of an entertainment branch,
I see
and
what
you
you're
have
saying.
another announcement of
be
a financial branch.
Yeah, you could be right. That may be the basis of the bifurcation, but let's not lock in, because I don't know, and there is a certain amount of mutability to the universe when fate meets free will. So another good thing is Jupiter doesn't spend a lot of time in Pisces. Sorry, Pisces, you're supposed to get a whole year. You got cheated. But Jupiter's going to go jumping, right into Aries by May of 2022. And then this chart has its sun, which is the basis of its energy, in early Leo, 3-4 degrees Leo. So when Jupiter gets to 3-4 degrees of Aries, it makes that very productive and advantageous trine. This is twice in 12 years. And this one comes in the very end of May and the first 10 days of June of 2022. So I think there may be some really bold, exciting announcement and, really a surge on that one before that other time, which is in the spring of 2023.
So you've kind of nailed down two opportunities going on. You said there's a lot of the tension now from now until about the 23rd of January.
Yes.
And something you don't know is that they are today at 2 p.m. launching their product, the Saitama, which has been long awaited.
There's going to be a lot of money coming in on the Jupiter trine the Sun, and could come a little earlier, could even come when the Jupiter hits late Pisces and trines the Mercury, since that is the planet of sales, marketing, mercantilism. The Jupiter trine the Mercury comes in around April 18 to about maybe May 1.
And the growth in their chart already reflects this excitement. So the value of the coin
has already gone up.
Is going up. Yeah, it's rallying up. Well, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time. I think cryptocurrency is a fascinating subject and a very popular one. So doing this on a weekly, if you like the idea of doing that, we'll find some
and other subjects.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, what we have coming up is
Republican contenders for the American throne, starring. We'll let you figure that out.
Oh yeah, you'll have to listen and find out. So thank you everybody for listening, and please share and pass this along for anybody who feel may benefit from the information. You are available for readings, of course.
Yes.
And you can find her on her website, SiouxRoseAstrology.com. The spelling of that you'll find below. It's SIOUXROSE astrology.com.
Thank you, and may the stars be with you.